Hello everybody and welcome back to another EPI video. Today is November 5th, 2024. That's right folks, it is election day. This will be my final 2024 presidential election prediction. First, let's get into this national environment and then I will give my prediction based off individual states. So first of all, as you can see, James Carville, once again, I'm repeating this, says Harris has to win by 3. She's up by 0.1. That's far from where she needs to be. She's losing in the most accurate 2020 pollster, Atlas Intel, by a point. Tied and tipped, the tracking poll. Ipsos, she's up to 2, still not enough. Tied in New York Post, up 4 in Marist. That would be one where she'd actually win. It's the only one where she would. Tied in NBC News and Emerson, not good for only up 2 in Harris X, 1 in Yahoo News, 2 in Liberal Morning Consult, and Trump's up 3, even though it's conservative, in Rasmussen. So you see this here. Very good results. And also, I should mention New York Times Siena. There's a tie there. Very good for Donald Trump. Who knows who'll win the popular vote? I'm going to say Kamala will. But I think it's going to be really close, and it does not bode well for her in the Electoral College, even if Trump's advantage may have shrunk, likely it has, from 2020. So, without further ado, let's get into the map here. We have our map. We'll be predicting every single state in the District of Columbia. 10 points or more, that's a safe state. 5 to 10, it's likely. 2 to 5, it's lean. 0 to 2, it is tilt. So, that's the prediction, folks. And, that's what I want to give. I'm going to give it to you all. And I just hope it's super accurate. That's what we're hoping here, because I put a lot of time and effort into this. So let's go. Harris will likely win by 10 states, by 10 points or more: Hawaii, California, Oregon, Washington, Illinois, Delaware, Maryland, New Jersey, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Maine's 1st Congressional District, New York, Colorado, D.C., and Vermont. Those are likely the states she wins by more than 10 points. You go to Trump, he likely wins Utah, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, the Dakotas, Nebraska, as well as its 1st and 3rd districts, Kansas, Oklahoma, Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, South Carolina, Kentucky, or West Virginia, Tennessee, Indiana. I'm going to throw in, by the way, Iowa. I don't care about the Seltzer poll. It's going to be way off. It's not even going to be remotely right. It's going to be the worst major poll of the cycle. I really don't care. I think that Donald Trump will for sure get Iowa over 10. I mean, not for sure, but that it will for sure be off. And I think it's slightly more likely than not that he gets Iowa over 10 points. Just barely. It is the right trending state. I put no credibility in that poll. And then finally, we will go to our likely states that are likely won by Kamala, between 5 to 10. We'll choose for her. Means at a whole is likely, because it's a state that Biden won by 9, right? And although Trump will likely do better with the white, rural, non-college educated voters, she should still be fine there. New Hampshire, she likely wins by 5 to 10. Again, that's another state where she's polling well. They don't like incumbents, but she's not the incumbent, even though Trump's labeling her as it. And it's a state that really does not like Trump, even though it may not be huge on Kamala Harris. They'll still probably vote for her, maybe a little less than it did for Biden, but it should be fine for her. Even though we did see Dixville Notch numbers where Biden won 5-0 last time, that is tied 3-3. So that is a good sign for Trump. But then we have, I'd say next is New Mexico is likely for the Democrats. Biden won it by 11, but I think it will be likely this time because Latinos will likely shift to the right from where Biden was, to the point where it should be just under 10. Trump should be able to do a little bit better there in New Mexico. You have Minnesota, which again, that's likely. I don't think she'll win by 7, but I think she will win it by over 5. She'll have problems with progressive voters, not nearly as much as what Biden was going to have over her view on the Israel-Hamas war, but at the same time, she picked Tim Walz that should help her a bit, to the point where it's not of any concern for her. And then Virginia's the last state on this list for her that is likely, just because of the fact that Biden won it by 10. She'll likely win it by less. Polls have it a whole lot closer. And that is true, but at the same time, it's not a state that has any right trending direction. I mean, of course, Republicans did well in 2021. They did meh in 2023, but I guess compared relatively, they did well. And, it's not a right trending state, but I'm going to believe the polls to an extent to where it shifts to Trump by a few points, that she probably wins by 8, the state of Virginia, but we'll just have to see. And then we'll give her Nebraska's 2nd congressional district. That goes to her as likely. The only reason I'm giving that to her as a likely is just because it's a left trending district. Biden won it by 6. She'll likely win it by more. It really is. It's just a left trending suburban district. The polls show that. It's likely what's going to happen with the so-called blue dot. All right, let's get into Trump's likely states. Arizona, I'm just being cautious and putting it in likely because it's left trending, but he should have no problem there. Ohio will be likely. It could be safe, but, Trump is improving, it seems, among the white non-college educated voters. He has a strong connection with the state of Ohio, just enough, in my opinion, to pull Bernie Moreno over the top, but also he wins by something like 9, even though polls show him doing slightly less than that. I think he does slightly better than 2020 just because Kamala has a weaker connection with the white non-college educated voters. Trump will also likely win Maine second. He could win it by a safe margin. I think he wins it by a bit more for the similar reasons to Ohio. Florida is likely because it's super right trending, although Trump won by 3 last time. DeSantis won by 19, Rubio by 16, and it's a right trending state all across the state. He'll probably win by a couple points more. Definitely, I would say over 5. Texas, he won by over 5 last time. I will still say that this state is likely, just because you look at the fact that he went by 5.5. Trump will likely improve among Latino voters, especially in Rio Grande Valley. He could improve in Houston, and he might not bleed that much in Dallas, Austin, San Antonio. He might not bleed that much, especially to the extent from 2020 to 2016. I wouldn't think it would be that terrible for him. So I think he slightly improves in Texas. We'll just have to see. But I think he wins by like 6 points, 6 to 7. So we have our big 7 swing states. That is all that is left. We're going to be going more in depth for this. I guess, I'll be starting based off of... No, I'm just going to start randomly. So I'll first give Trump North Carolina a tilt. So the interesting thing about North Carolina, this is a state where the polls, they show Trump winning 1.2. That's good for him. You have him up 2 in accurate Atlas Intel Insider Advantage, 1 in Credible Emerson, ECU, 3 in Rasmussen, 2 in Liberal Morning Consult, 3 in Trafalgar. And then the only poll that's really good for her that's super recent is New York Times Siena, which has her up 2. But I really do think they're underestimating Trump in that state. You look at the presidential election results, Trump has room to grow to bounce back in the Charlotte suburbs of Mecklenburg County. He will likely improve in northeastern North Carolina with the black voters and also southeastern North Carolina, as has been the trends. While maybe Harris can improve in Guilford or Wake County in Greensboro and Raleigh, but turnout, that's a question. I don't think it's nearly enough for her to win the state. You look at early voting in the state of North Carolina, it looks pretty good for Republicans. At this point, they were down by 6 points. Now they're up by a point. That's definitely a good shift for them. Even in 2022 when they had a good cycle in North Carolina, they were down 7. But no, they're up now. We don't know how these unaffiliated voters are going to vote, of course, but it is a good sign for them. Look at Polling Market. Trump is at 69% there. So I think he will win North Carolina. Next, I also think tilt is Georgia for Donald Trump. Georgia, again, good polls for Donald Trump. You look at the polling in Georgia, he's up 1.3. He's up 2 in accurate Atlas Intel. Inside Advantage, Credible Emerson, he's up 1 in both. He is down 1 in New York Times Siena, but he is up 1 in ECU, 5 in Rasmussen, as well as 2 in Morning Consult and Trafalgar. So definitely good for him individually when you look at the pollsters, except for New York Times Siena. But, he's up by what I expect him to be. Here's the problem for Democrats broadly in Georgia. Black voters are shifting to Trump, and they're likely less enthused than they were in 2020. Most people agree with that. If that's true, and Trump holds his ground in the rurals, seems like it makes sense, Harris can barely afford to lose a lot in the greater Atlanta area, and I definitely think she will lose turnout. And that's what's going to tank her campaign in a place like Georgia. And you look at the early voting data on Georgia, but only based racially, you look at it in Georgia, you see that black voters need to be 29-30% of the electorate. They're only 29% in early voting. It will definitely be less in the election day vote, to the point where that's not where they need to be. And white voters also 63 in the early voting. That's higher than the 60 they were last time. So racially, it does not look good for Harris, and betting odds, Trump's at 70 in Georgia. So I do think Georgia tilts to Donald Trump's column. Next up, I'm going to be giving Harris by a tilt margin the state of Michigan. Again, remember last time I said Trump's up 1.2. Well, if he holds that lead, I'll give it to him, but I don't really know how much that will materialize. Well, Harris has gained back that lead to 0.5. So, although he's up 2 incredible Atlas Intel, he's still, and he's tied New York Times Siena. He's still down in Emerson by 2, Mitchell Research by 2, these polls. Rasmussen by 1. So that's not a good sign for him. And you look at the map, it takes a bit for Trump. Trump would have to really bank on turnout dropping in Detroit, him accelerating in Macomb County as well as some of these counties, Grand Rapids not shifting to the left, and the rural is getting redder. To the point where I think it will shift red, but do you think he'll win it? It seems harder to envision. And then even Polymarket has Harris winning 62-38. It's her best state. So that's that there for me. And then Trump, I'm going to give him Arizona by a tilt margin. I want to say for the record that I think this is a lot closer than the polls have us. The polls are very good for Trump, 2.8. He's only tied in the most liberal pollster Morning Consult. He's up 5 in Accurate Atlas Intel, 2 in Trafalgar, 3 in Inside Advantage, 2 in Credible Emerson, 4 in the New York Times Siena poll. So just big numbers for him, huge even. And here's the problem, though, is the trends in Arizona have always seemed good for Democrats, just because Maricopa, if it gets a bit bluer, how is Trump going to upset it? I think he'll greatly improve in the border counties because of the issue and how he's trusted in Trump in that, and probably throughout most of the state, Trump will improve. He still has a problem with McCain Republicans, but it seems less of than in 2020. But who knows? Maricopa County will likely stay the same. I think the polls are greatly off by 2.5 points, but I still think Trump narrowly has it favored. You look at party registration, and you look at the early voting data in the state of Arizona. Now, it might not pull this up for us, so I'm having a little bit of trouble here. However, I can tell you're just going to have to trust me on this, that in 2020 at this point, Republicans were leading by 2. Now they're leading by 8, which is definitely better for the Republicans. And on Polymarket, Trump is at 80. Absolutely huge. I never thought I'd see him that high in that place. So there is that. I also think Trump will win Nevada by a tilt margin, getting him to 268. Nevada, very close state. Polls, they have Trump up 0.6, which is definitely good news for him. He's up 3 in Accurate Atlas Intel, tied in Emerson. He is down 3 in New York Times Siena, but he's up 6 in Susquehanna, 2 in Rasmussen. He is tied in Trafalgar, which is not great for him. So it's a mixed bag. The aggregate broadly is better for him. The problem for Democrats in Nevada is that Clark County is right trending, and it's mostly what's going to decide the state. And it trended right in 2020 where no other areas like it did. And it likely will by a couple points enough to where Trump can flip it. Because it's just that type of area. The people there, the Latino and Asian voters, will likely shift, even non-college educated voters. It'll likely be a big shift into the column of Donald Trump. And you can look at the Nevada numbers for party registration, and you can see that Republicans are outvoting Democrats. They were down 3 in 2020 at this point. They're up 4 this time in a state where there's more registered Democrats in the early vote. Of course, we don't know how the unaffiliated is going to vote. That's a mystery to us. But at the same time, that's not good numbers for Dems. And you can see on the Polymarket, Trump's at 62. So definitely looking better for him in Nevada. Harris, I do expect her to win tilt margin Wisconsin. I didn't have that last time. This time I do think she's got Wisconsin. The polling, I know it's had misses before for that really advantaged Trump. Like they said, Clinton was up 6.5 and Trump won by 0.7, or Biden up 6.7 and Biden won by 0.7. So incredibly off. But I think they finally caught that voter. He's up 1. I know in Accurate Atlas Intel. But Trafalgar Group, he's down 1. That's a bad sign for him because Trafalgar is a more right-leaning pollster. New York Times Siena, he's down 2. So you look at this, and you see that while there could be that error again, is that they also overestimated Ron Johnson. Who knows if it's completely likely? And I've even seen the early voting data. I don't know if I can display it here, but that the Democrats are getting higher turnout in the areas they need to, like Dane County, Milwaukee County, as compared to the rural areas. And while they're more likely to vote early, that's a better sign for them. Yes, Wisconsin's room for growth. I think Ozaki will shift left. Who knows if these other wild counties will shift left to that extent. Yes, they could have a turnout problem for Dems in Milwaukee. And Dane County, well, they always have good turnout there. And Trump could work it out in the mid-metro areas and the rural areas. But it just doesn't look that good for him in terms of early voting day, in terms of the polling, which is, again, dead tight, but those are things that are slightly in his favor. Even the betting odds, Harris is at 54. So I do expect Harris to narrowly win the state of Wisconsin. It is really tight, though. So, Pennsylvania, the winner of Pennsylvania will win this election. Who do I have winning it? I'm not going to tell you because I'm going to go through it like this. The polls, 0.4 for Trump. He leads. He leads an accurate Atlas Intel. Emerson. He's tied New York Times Siena, where he was down much more before. Leads 1 in Trafalgar and Insider Advantage. Leads 6 in Echelon sites. 2 in Rasmussen. He's even tied in Liberal Morning Consult. Leads in Quinnipiac. And Fox News more liberal pollsters, actually. The only things that look bad for him are Muhlenberg College, which he's down 2. And Marist, again, a more liberal pollster, where he's down 2. So, the polls generally look better for Trump. Here's the problem for Harris, and I've talked about this before. She could get like a 2-point shift in the suburbs. Probably Bucks actually helps Trump in a unique way. Philadelphia shifted right last time. He'll likely shift right again this time. He'll likely, because, again, we've seen with the Teamsters Union polling, Trump gains among working-class voters much better against Harris than against Biden throughout the western part. And so, more favorable factors for Trump. But also, the Northeast, where Biden had a connection, there's just no connection for Kamala Harris. She's from San Francisco, not Scranton. So, it's just not looking great for her. I think Trump will even accelerate those trends more. You look at the early voting data, it's actually really good for Republicans. It's the biggest shift of any of the states. You look at Pennsylvania, it is absolutely huge. Dems were up at this point 41. Now they're only up 23. And, that's not good news for them either. Polling market, Trump's at 61. So with all that, I do think Donald Trump is going to be elected the 47th president of the United States and by a tilt margin win the state of Pennsylvania. So there, you have it, folks. Trump wins 287 electoral votes. Kamala Harris wins 251. That is my final prediction. I think Trump will win. And to hold me super accountable, here is my exact margins for my swing state prediction. As always, thank you so much for watching. Please like, please subscribe, ring that bell for notifications so you never miss another video. And please vote. That's what I'm encouraging all Americans to do. And make your voices heard. As always, thank you so much for watching. EPI, out.